Let's focus in on the RICO charges at the center of this Georgia indictment of Donald Trump.
The federal act of racketeer, influence, and corrupt organizations allows prosecutors to dismantle organized crime. Most of us think about cases brought against gangsters and mobsters.
But Georgia's RICO Act actually goes further, allowing prosecutors to lump together several crimes by a group of different people if they are all in support of a common objective. So this allowed District Attorney Fani Willis to link Trump and his 18 allies into a web of alleged crimes.
Let's bring in former U.S. Attorney and senior FBI official Chuck Rosenberg and Atlanta Journal-Constitution political columnist Patricia Murphy, who is back with us. So, Chuck, this is not the first time Fani Willis has used RICO in Georgia. Here's what she said about it last year. Take a listen.
I'm a fan of RICO. I've told people that. And the reason that I am a fan of RICO is I think jurors are very, very intelligent. They want to know the whole story. They want to know what happened. They want to make an accurate decision about someone's life. And so RICO is a tool that allows a prosecutor's office and law enforcement to tell the whole story.
So Georgia's RICO law is different. It's unique. How is it unique? And how is this one considered maybe one of the toughest in the nation?
Well, for one thing, Jose, it's broader than its federal counterpart. When Congress passed RICO, racketeer, by the way, is just sort of a quaint word for criminal. When Congress passed RICO in 1970, the concern was that mob families were using lots of criminals to commit disparate crimes, bribery, extortion, murder, bid rigging, all sorts of things. And RICO allowed the government, the federal prosecutors and the FBI to sweep all these criminals into a single prosecutive bucket, a RICO bucket. A lot of states followed suit. Georgia in 1980 enacted its own RICO statute, but Georgia went broader, Jose. They added more predicate crimes to their RICO statute, so more of those disparate acts by the various criminals could be swept into the prosecutive bucket. What sort of predicate acts do they have in Georgia that they don't have under federal law? Well, forgery, false statements, computer trespass, the types of things that you see popping up in the indictment that was just recently unsealed in Fulton County permits a Georgia prosecutor to go broader in this case, in her application of the RICO statute.
You think about RICO, and a lot of people think about mobsters and Rudy Giuliani. He famously used the federal RICO Act to prosecute mobsters in the 1980s here in New York. So I guess, Chuck, just your reaction, maybe the irony here that he's now charged with the same crime.
Yeah, it is ironic, but RICO isn't reserved only for mobsters, although, Anna, you're quite right. It has been traditionally used for mobsters. But there was a famous case, and I'm sure Patricia knows it well, in Fulton County, in which members of the Atlanta public school system, teachers and administrators, were charged under RICO, the Georgia version of RICO, because they inflated test scores. The criminal enterprise for purposes of that prosecution was essentially the Atlanta public schools, not mobsters. So that's how we think of it. You're quite right, Anna. That's how it was conceived. That's why it was enacted. But its application can, and in Georgia, has been broader.
And Patricia, I mean, there are some names, of course, we all recognize, Giuliani and so many others in this indictment. And there are a lot of others that we really don't know, at least on a national level. What can you tell us about some of the more local co-conspirators in the indictment and the potential impact all of this could have in terms of the political dynamics in Georgia?
Yeah, among the people that she has charged here in this indictment, one is the sitting state senator, Shawn Still. Also, of course, David Shafer was the head of the Georgia Republican Party while all of this was going down. There is a former chairwoman of the Coffee County Republican Party. That is a tiny rural county about 3 hours south of here, as well as Misty Hampton, who was the elections director in Coffee County. Several of those people were involved in the fake elector scheme here in Georgia. Shawn Still, David Shafer, and Kathy Latham from Coffee County. They all served either as fake electors or helped to coordinate that entire effort on December 14th when Georgia was otherwise casting its ballots for Joe Biden. And these are people, I think this is going to be a tough part for Georgians to go through. These are people who are people's neighbors. They're going to be parents with kids in Little League. These are very well known in their neighborhoods, but certainly not national names and not famous figures. But they have also been wrapped up in this RICO indictment. And I think that it's very important to remember that RICO has a mandatory minimum here in Georgia of 5 years in state prison. And that, I think, will weigh very heavily on some of these defendants who are considering what their next steps are going to be. Fani Willis, again, has not shied away. She was the prosecutor on that teacher case. She brought RICO charges against elementary school teachers and put some of them behind bars with the RICO statute. So she's not afraid to bring it. She has a RICO case going right now against rap singers here in Fulton County and gang members. So it's something that she has used frequently. She brought a RICO specialist onto her staff when she started this investigation. That's why we felt she would bring RICO charges in this case. And my last thing that I'll say is that when we were living this in real time, these just felt like one-off events. Why is Rudy Giuliani at the state capitol? Why is Coffee County reporting that they've had a breach of their system? We didn't know if they were connected, and this indictment connects all of those dots together under a single indictment.
We heard her at the top of this segment discussing just that, this idea that RICO allows her to bring everything together, the complete picture for those who are trying to connect the dots. I did just get a statement here into our NBC and MSNBC newsroom from Raffensperger's office. He's the Secretary of State in Georgia, was Secretary of State at the time, still is, won re-election after all this, even after Trump tried to put a challenger against him and prop up that challenger. Here's what he says. The most basic principles of a strong democracy are accountability and respect for the Constitution and rule of law. You either have it or you don't. Chuck, your reaction to that?
Right, exactly. And you sustain the rule of law by following the facts. With you ask witnesses or you compel witnesses to testify. They do so under oath and they tell the truth. It's really not that complex. I mean, I agree with Mr. Raffensperger, but it's really not that complex. You know, one very good thing, Anna, in all this turmoil, with all this noise, there's been a lot of heat, not all that much light. The courts have held, as institutions, the courts have held, state, federal, around the country. Excuse me. I think this is a good thing. I think it's an important thing. And I do think it sustains, undergirds the rule of the law.